Whether you're a diehard sports fan, a hopeless romantic, or a comedy aficionado, the Xfinity 10G network was made for streaming it all. Worry less about buffering when streaming your favorite shows, movies, or live sports, and enjoy a better way to watch. Xfinity gives you a reliable connection for streaming, plus all the entertainment you love all in one place. Fear not, because now you can finally sit back, relax, and stream your favorite entertainment and sports like never before with the Xfinity 10G network.
Hello again, hockey fans. Are you ready to brave the wild with me, your host, Paladino Joey, or Joey Awajan? Brave the Wild is available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, PodMN, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Stitcher, Double Twist, and TuneIn Radio, of course. On ones like TuneIn Radio, usually like when you open it up, it's streaming. Try to see if you can download it first instead, because I believe you can download or stream the show. Downloading is better. If you could do that, it would be greatly appreciated. That way, it counts as a download for potential business in the future, this and that. We all know how that works. Great to be back on board talking hockey once again today, but unfortunately, the Minnesota Wild season has already come to an end. And that is why, basically, you could call this playoff run a flash in the pan, because everything started off so great, and then 3 games later, it was over. It was just over. So, kind of like a nice little crush you had or something when you're a teenager. It just feels like it just comes and goes in a matter of seconds. It's like, oh, that didn't work out, I guess. I guess she kind of sucks, or he kind of sucks, depending on what side of gender you're on, I suppose. But welcome back. We're going to basically recap the playoff series as best I can, this and that, and kind of look at the future for the Wild. And, of course, we will hear from all of you out there that were kind enough to hashtag BTWMN on Twitter, at Brave the Wild, at Brave the Wild. Can't thank Derek Felska enough. Living in western Wisconsin as a teacher, but very much a Minnesotan and a big, proud fan of Minnesota teams, including our Minnesota Wild. So, yes, we'll get to that. I think I'll do this in one quick segment shot. I kind of decide on the fly sometimes, but usually shows like this, I can do it in one quick segment, I suppose, and it sounds better. I'm in accord with a lot of guys like Judd Zulgad and Declan Goff. Gotta love that show out there. Love listening to what they have to say. Of course, Michael Russo, unfortunately, he didn't do a show this week with Jim Suhan, but he did do straight from the source, this and that. So, and also want to welcome the Foghorn podcast into the podcasting world. Great to have you on board, and Justin Backey, of course, great friend from MNW Prospects, giving them a big shout out right here, right now. Great start to things. Episode number 1, I'm sure. Unfortunately, episode number 2, they won't be as happy about the turnout for the postseason. But it's not the end of the world. Pittsburgh Penguins, though, that's the other thing before I get into the Wild playoff series, or I'll kind of bounce around between our series and others and such. Pittsburgh Penguins also eliminated by the Montreal Canadiens. I don't think any of us picked the Montreal Canadiens to knock off the Pittsburgh Penguins, but they did. Okay. Yeah, they knocked off the Pittsburgh Penguins. All right, so that's interesting. Arizona Coyotes knocked off the Nashville Predators, so that's the end of the Nashville Predators run to a Stanley Cup final again. Didn't think they're going to make it anyway. And Vegas is looking like a better pick every day for me, picking them to go to the final. They actually might win it, who knows. But, everything started so great, picking up where we left off. Of course, now again, I'm going to give an addenda and errata also when I was talking about the weird scheduling. When I was thinking, wait a minute, we're not playing Colorado. And St. Louis and Vegas, that doesn't make sense. Yeah, those were real games. It was the round robin tournament where they're basically trying to figure out who's 1 through 4. So teams did not keep their potential seeds necessarily. Vegas just might get number 1. It's either Vegas or Colorado getting number 1, this and that. So it's a round robin tournament, almost kind of like World Cup in a way, trying to move up by just winning a couple games there, and all of a sudden they're the top seed, this and that. So that's kind of how things are going. Vancouver, we'll see who they wind up playing. The Blackhawks are probably going to play the Golden Knights. Oh boy, well, go Golden Knights there. Yeah, the Chicago, that was the other one. The Chicago Blackhawks knocked off the Edmonton Oilers. Pittsburgh will have 7 days to decide if they want to keep this year's pick or transfer it to 2021. So the Minnesota Wild still might get the pick if Pittsburgh says, oh, okay, fine, just keep it, whatever. Odds are they'll probably want to keep it, though. We'll see. we'll see, because this is probably as high a pick as they're going to have, depending on if next year they're going to be all banged up and injured. Who knows what's going to happen to the Pittsburgh Penguins, but they're always a threat, and to think that they're not going to be in the Elite Eight of the Eastern Conference this year, pretty crazy to imagine, but Montreal will be. Montreal Canadiens, pardon me. That's just, okay, all right. So again, everything started wonderful. We felt so good. Beautiful game one against the Vancouver Canucks. And we're trying to recap our wonderful feelings of the 2003 playoff run, but of course it's just another painful reminder of how long ago that really was. Minnesota Wild series versus Colorado was kind of similar in 14 compared to 03, but things ended nicely and all that. Very dramatic back and forth, but of course this time around, I don't know. I mean, reality just kind of set in where a lot of us were thinking much earlier in the season, this team isn't going anywhere, this and that. And it's not about bashing the Wild, this and that, but it's kind of the typical, even though we have players that can do this, we have players that can do that, they just magically stop scoring. But again, this first game was the biggest tease of all. Minnesota Wild score a goal in every period. We wound up with 3 goals. Everybody's talking about Jacob Markstrom like he's Ken Dryden, like he's, Kiprusoff in his prime. I mean, Kiprusoff is obviously really good for the Calgary Flames. Not spectacular, but damn good. Nicholas Backstrom, this and that. Yep, now we're comparing Finnish goalies. But, we could say Ken Dryden. You could say Grant Fuhrer in an era when people scored like 5 or 6 goals a game. So his 3.5, 4 goals were like, damn, that's really good. Where Ken Dryden was giving up literally like 2 goals a game, even in an era when more goals were scored in that era. That's how good Ken Dryden truly was. And he was a tall goalie in an era when goalies were a little shorter, like Alex Stalock. Stalock was very respectable throughout this entire series. Remember how I came into this postseason on my last podcast and the podcast before that? If the Wild lose to the Vancouver Canucks or whoever, most likely it was going to be the Canucks no matter what, it would be because of goaltending. Nope, it was not because of goaltending.
What assholes.
It was kind of like everything else. It's like, yeah, we can score, but we're not going to. The power play, yeah, it's the short circuit. There was no power play. In the first game, things were okay, respectable. Again, a 3-0 victory. Alex Stalock stopped when he needed to. Minnesota Wild did not give up a whole lot of dangerous situations. Completely shut down that top 6 like you wouldn't believe. You keep hearing about Bo Horvat and JT Miller. What an awesome acquisition. Wish the Wild could have got that guy. Wish the Wild could have taken Brock Besser instead of Joel Eriksson Ek, but Joel is the greatest defensive center in the history of the NHL. You know what I'm saying? And then Elias Pettersson's the greatest ever, this and that, but the Wild shut them all down. They just shut them down, and we feel like $1 million. Alex Galchenyuk looked good for a minute, and then he started turning the puck over, and he started making stupid mistakes. Ryan Donato is what he is. He's kind of a daredevil out there and plays hard, works hard, but he's a daredevil. He's not this stay-at-home, solid two-way type of forward. And he's stuck on a 4th line when he probably should be higher. Kind of like what Sam Honest would be if he was on the Wild. He'd be stuck in the 4th line because, well, it just is what it is when he probably should be playing on a higher line because his skill set matches him up with the higher line. Jordan Greenway looks like a 4th liner in the NHL. Nobody's that excited about him right now. Just kind of an invisible guy. Zach Parise didn't score in this entire series, and he's had a great run in the postseason throughout the course of time. Eric Stahl managed to get 2 assists. Kevin Fiala just looks as spectacular as ever. So on a positive note, Kevin Fiala picked up where he left off. The only problem is Kevin Fiala's, again, well, he's got this... He's got this anger streak a little bit, gets a little frustrated, this and that, like we all would. He's honored by the fact that other teams are focusing on him more than they would in the past. He's deeply honored. I mean, like a star player would be focused upon, and it's nice to know that the Wild actually have a guy like that. Again, this is what a lot of Minnesota Wild fans are saying right now.
Thank God for Kevin Fiala.
And thank you, Paul Fenton, for giving us Kevin Fiala. Thank you. Obviously, wonderful addition, and of course, he gives us hope. He's a big reason why a lot of Wild fans thought we could beat the Vancouver Canucks, and who knows? And of course, you're not going to go out there and tank. Of course not. I mean, if you tank, it's just kind of like that's BS. You don't want to tank. That's just flat out wrong. Looks like things are set up, aren't they? Yep, Coyotes versus Colorado Avalanche. Yep, is the Red Robins kind of. I just called it Red Robin, the round robin, sponsored by Red Robin, right? No, it should have been. Go Coyotes. Hell with it. I mean, I know everybody likes the Avalanche and they're great to watch, but go Coyotes. Come on, everybody. I hate the Avalanche, even as good as they are. Where was I even going here? But no, we're all very happy to have Kevin Fiala on board. We got the hope with Kirill Kaprizov, but still, there's just one gaping hole after another, and then you got the freaking albatross contract of Mats Zuccarello, as everybody loved him with the New York Rangers. He was spectacular with the Dallas Stars. Obviously, the minute he suited up with the Dallas Stars, he broke his wrist blocking a shot with his arm. Blocking a shot with his arm. That was, ouch. That was pretty, that wasn't a good deal. Ryan Suter has a lower body injury or just unable to play. We don't know what happened. Happened in game number 3, was unavailable in game number 4. And, well, it is what it is. Luckily, the Wild played fairly well in game number 4, but we don't know what's really going on with Suter because he doesn't miss time. He just doesn't. And not sure what to say about that. There was not really any conversation. An ankle, like we saw his ankle break that one time. And sometimes you see somebody get whacked in the knee or something with the puck, something like that, or who knows what. But we're not sure what happened. Carson Soucy at one point looked like he might have had an ankle injury in game number 2, but luckily that's not the case. He did not have a very good series. Brad Hunt had a pretty crappy turnover along the way as well. I don't know, guys like Brad Hunt and Galchenyuk. I don't know, Galchenyuk, leave the yuck there. It's just kind of like yuck. Yeah, I know, that's silly, but a lot of guys on this roster just look like gaping holes to me. Guys you want to keep, guys that are kind of keepers, be it they're a good deal or they're worthwhile playoff contender type players. You know, Ryan Hartman, Marcus Foligno, of course you want to keep them. Koivu, maybe you want to keep him for one more year as the center for the fourth line, but you know, I mean, it's kind of sad that's where he is, but he did a hell of a job, honestly. It's not he wasn't scoring or doing anything spectacular, but he was solid out there, and he can actually win faceoffs, which the Wild did not do a whole lot of throughout this entire series. The Wild went over 13 in a combined couple games number 2 and 3 against Vancouver in the power play, over 13, 2 of 17 at that stage. Insanely frustrating, as we had a couple power play goals in game number 1, or it just felt great. You got good, solid goaltending. You got a couple power plays, and you got your star player picking up where he left off. Even, heck, you got Eric Stahl picking up a couple of assists. You get Jared Spurgeon scoring a couple of goals. How cool was that? 3 points for Jared Spurgeon, a very well-compensated defenseman. Just absolutely great. Absolutely awesome. You didn't see Belpedia at all. You didn't see Luke Johnson. You didn't see Capo Kakinen. You did not see Gerald Mayhew, Brennan Mennel, Victor Rask. No. Kyle Rao, Matt Robson, or you did see Nico Sturm, yes, in games 3 and 4. And he looks good. He looks damn good. We'll get back to him in a moment. But again, game number 1, you felt positive. You got scared with the Galchenyuk turnover, but luckily we didn't get beat on that one. But we would get beat on turnovers in the future. Extreme frustrations would take over the further you move in this bleeping series against the Vancouver Canucks. But game number 1, you felt like $1 million. 3-0 win. Game number 4, 4-3 loss. I mean, gosh, we almost had it. Yeah, sure. Okay, right. It was like immediately. And the worst goal of the entire series, scored on Alex Stalock, was right out of the gate there. And that was pretty dang Mickey frickin' frustrating. 24 seconds into the game. Yeah, Vancouver didn't score for 60 minutes against the Wild in game number 1. It took 24 seconds in game number 2. Tanner Pearson from out in the point, basically, or was it the high slot? Quite a bit out there, quite a ways out there, pretty much out on the point, just releasing the puck, just putting the puck on net and see what happens, or getting a juicy rebound. No, it went in. 24 seconds in. Luckily, Luke Cunnin would tie it up shorthanded later on. Luke Cunning's one of those guys, though, guys that you want to keep, so to speak. I mean, Luke Cunning's one of those guys that you're happy he's on the roster and you want to keep him around, and it's not like we're paying him $1 billion either. Joel Eriksson, well, I mean, what are you going to do? What are you going to trade him for Brock Besser? Well, you can't do that. It's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen, as much as I'd love that. Eric Stahl, obviously, he's solid, but he still gets points. He still finds a way to get on the scoreboard. Parisi did get a couple assists in this particular game, but those were very late, along with Stahl's 2 assists. Those were like last-second plays that made the score look a little prettier and gave the Wild a glimmer of hope in the last second. But this was like a day late and a dollar short type of a game. It really was. Stalock wasn't as good as he was in the first game. The turnovers were awful throughout the entire way. Nobody was scoring in golden opportunities, and it made everyone frustrating. But this one pales in comparison compared to game number 3, where everybody was absolutely irate. Kevin Fiala was frustrating throughout this entire game. Game number 2 got, calls and non-calls, got under his skin, this and that, and he was just getting absolutely frustrated and kept kind of complaining every couple seconds to the referees, and that's just not going to be very productive. You're not going to get any more calls necessarily if you're complaining every couple seconds. That's not going to help you. Fiala would get 2 goals, but they were in the last minute of the game. The Wild were down 4-1, and they were in the last minute of the game. Good plays, good shots, nice stats and everything, but unfortunately, it was too little too late. Day late, dollar short. That's basically what the title of game number 2 would be. Game number 1 the title would have been just, great team effort. Game number 2, day late and a dollar short. Basically, at the end of the day. This was, again, when Carson Soucy, you were afraid he might be injured or something, but he came back and he was okay, and I don't know. Game number 3 was pretty much horse crap. Even though it was a close game the entire way, the Wild couldn't do crap. Again, a 4-3 loss to Vancouver, where, again, Vancouver was just clearly the better team in game number 2. They were just better, and it was frustrating because a lot of people believe, including Michael Russo, who's not exactly just Mr. Homer all the time, was telling you that this Vancouver team is not really that good right now. They're not that ready for any type of a playoff run or anything crazy like that. The Wild should be deeper enough should be deeper and be able to get the job done in this series because of our depth. Vancouver is more top-heavy than the Wild, and, well, almost everybody's more top-heavy than us right now, especially at the center position. As good as Stahl is, it's just he's getting points because of Kevin Fiala, basically, at this stage, or maybe Parisi once in a while as well. And good for him. God bless him. I actually really like Eric Stahl a lot. As from what I know as a person, just from keeping up with him, basically, I think I'd like Eric Stahl quite a bit. And as a player, yeah, he's solid. But obviously he doesn't have the speed and quickness to keep up with people. He certainly has the hands. He still has the hands, but the speed, the skating is nothing what it was back in the old days when he was a legitimate star for your Carolina Panthers out there. You're a bunch of jerks when they weren't a bunch of jerks yet, as they call themselves. Game number 3. Game number 3. And this is when Declan Goff, our friend on Score North, introduced me to the heat map. And some of you might be like, I knew about this 5 years ago or whatever. But Natural Stat Trick. Pretty cool website, actually. It looks like it's from 1997, 98. It really does. But who cares? It's got what you need. It's got all the stats and all the information. This is where it doesn't look like 97, 98, but like the fonts and style, the style of it, it looks like the late 90s. It does. Back in the day when I was finishing up high school and first really getting well acquainted with the internet back then. But you look at the heat map in game number 3, in a game that the Wild lost 3-0, and it leaves you stunned. I mean, the Wild had opportunities like you couldn't believe. I mean, the red shows the golden opportunities the Wild had and the location of those golden opportunities, which were all over the place in this entire game. I mean, we're talking blood red in front of the net, in the in the low slot, as in like in front of the net, golden opportunities for the Wild to score, and they just could not finish. They just could not freaking finish for their life, and nobody understands it. I mean, it's blood all over. Just imagine like a mafia hit. That's basically what it is. And this is like all opportunities, blood red, when it's on all opportunities, whether it's 5-on-5 or this or that. But when you put it on all, it literally looks like, I don't want to tell you, but I mean the red all over the place. Yeah, it looks literally like the mafia just took care of like a dozen people. Just put it that way. That's what it looks like. I mean, there is so much red around that, around the low slot there. I mean, obviously the high slot is not as good of a scoring opportunity. You're more likely to get blocked from there, of course. Of course, people will be feeling the pain. But the red means the danger of, like, a legitimate chance, the danger of being able to score there. As in, it's a dangerous, high scoring opportunity for Minnesota in that situation. And, of course, no goals took place in the entire game. Was Markstrom outstanding in the game? Yes, he was. Markstrom was outstanding in the game. But the Wild still should be able to score once in a while. I mean, they should at least be able to bury one or two of these opportunities. Jacob Markstrom's good. And, of course, how many times have we made goalies like Jake Allen, Jacob Markstrom, and many others look like spectacular goalies throughout our time. I mean, throughout our time in these golden opportunities to go on any type of a playoff run. I mean, was it Hellebuck? Again, Jake Allen's the ultimate example. I mean, like 50 shot attempts in that game, and you get shut out. It's just disgusting. You get shut out 1-0. It's just sick. Absolutely disgusting. Pretty much all of this started happening. You could date it all the way back to the Anaheim Ducks series in 2003, where the Wild just don't score in golden opportunities against goalies that a lot of times aren't necessarily big shot superstar goalies. They're just decent. Sebastian Jaguar was a decent goalie. Jacob Markstrom's decent. He's a starting goalie in the NHL. Versus the guy that was there before, I would have rather had him versus him and Nelson, where they were competing in the net. I remember a couple of years ago when I had Jacob Markstrom on my fantasy team, off and on, he'd be competing. He was kind of a platoon there. And Markstrom was like the slightly better guy, but he's improved the last couple of years, and it helps when you get better players in front as well, with more puck possession and such. You don't have to worry about all these dangerous scoring opportunities for the other team. But the Wild had golden opportunities in this entire game, and it's unbelievable how they just could not find it. They could not bury anything. Always having trouble raising the puck or timing their shots or this or that. It just magically didn't happen. And I don't know. But look it up if you can. Natural stat trick, Canucks 3, Wild 0, basically. And when it pops up, the heat map, click on all. It's one thing if it's 5-on-5, but all. That means the entire game. All situations, no matter what. If it's penalty kill, what the heck. Power play, blah, 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 blah. It is absolutely insane. And thank Declan Goff for bringing up natural stat trick. We'll be looking at this fairly often in the future. No question about it. Again, looks like 98, but who cares? It's good memories, right? It's good memories. 1998 was a good year for me. I got out of high school and all that and moved on. Yep, but look, obviously that shows that I've been around a while. I've been out of high school for many years now. So, but that game and that heat map just symbolizes a team that gets opportunities but doesn't finish on them. And it just happens every bleeping year. And people like our buddy Michael Russo went on to say the exact same thing. He's not an over-the-top homer, but he's also not going to just be he's not going to just bash the team because he's going to bash the team for the fun of it. He's obviously a well-respected writer that is able to give you a legitimate point of view on the team, and I can't disagree with any of that. That the Wild just, for whatever reason, they make goalies look like legends in the postseason, and it happens time and time and time again, and the frustration continues to mount for all of us Minnesota Wild fans, especially when you have guys locked in well for 4 more years. It was a 5-year contract with no move for the first 3, and Matt Zuccarello, who didn't do jack squat in this entire series. Didn't do shit, pardon my French. He didn't do anything. Galchenyuk, who stinks, basically. God bless him. We love him, and he actually was helpful in communicating with our buddy Kirill Kaprizov. But, I mean, if you can't play, you can't play. I don't know. I mean... Will the Wild give him some kind of 1-year deal? I don't know. I doubt it. If there's a better opportunity out there, go for it. This and that, go for it. Better opportunity for him and a better opportunity for the Minnesota Wild. I think the Wild need to head in that direction. It just kind of is what it is at this point. I mean, the frustration is just a little too much with that. Again, bouncing back and forth. But this game was what it was. I mean, it was a terrible game. It was a shitty bleeping game. Pardon my... I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Getting a little bit vulgar here. I apologize. And also, a guy like Quinn Hughes, he's a future star in the league, and there's no question about it. I mean, heck, you just heard Pat Micheletti compare him to Paul Coffey this morning on the In the Zone show. So, I mean, Paul Coffey was pretty good. Jay Beagle, obviously, he got hit in the hand pretty good. I believe that came 4, though, at that stage. But obviously, it's a good hockey team at the top. And like their best defenseman, Quinn Hughes, is spectacular. Elder's pretty good as well. Horvat is solid. He's not a great player. He's solid. Miller's excellent. Besser's really good. Peter Pettersson, pardon me, is absolutely awesome. Louis Eriksson's a guy who used to kill the Wild, but he's way past his prime. Antoine Roussel. This was when a lot of us just lost it and almost shattered the TV screen with bricks. Just shattered it. Was when Brad Hunt was just controlling the puck. Next thing you know, he just loses control. Antoine Roussel just takes the puck all the way and scores. Roussel, the guy that everybody basically hates. Another Another one of those hated players throughout the league. Like you had the Steve Otts, you had the Todd Bertuzzis, you had this and that. This is another one. Russell just gets it under everybody's skin. And to see that happen, to see Brad Hunt turn that over as pathetically as he did, it made everyone sick. Nico Sturm would get his playoff debut. It was very solid. Nico, not Miko, of course, Nico. So we'll just say Nico Sturm, his entire name. And he was, I thought he was awfully solid out there. Played on the left wing. He was out there on the flank a bit on the left side, along with the solid play of Ryan Hartman, who would get opportunities in this game, but nothing too spectacular. Fiala was outstanding at times and frustrating at other times, again barking with the ref. Jordan Greenway was moved down to the third line and played better, generally speaking, but he would get stupid bleeping penalties that led to power plays by the Vancouver Canucks, which buried the Minnesota Wild. He'd be playing a little bit better, and the next thing you know, and you can get frustrated all you want about how that wasn't a cross-check. He barely even nudged the guy. But at the same time, when you know they're going to call it, just watch it. Seriously, just watch out. Jordan Greenway, you don't see that powerful forecheck you think you could see from him. It just never happens. You never saw it from Charlie Coyle. And I'm seeing the same thing out of Jordan Greenway, and I think everyone's seeing it right now. Anybody that's really an objective, honest Minnesota Wild fan is going to say that about Jordan Greenway. You can love him all you want, but, it is what it is. And I also saw on message boards out there on the Minnesota Wild Global that it's literally the same old thing. Dumba shot block, Dumba's shot block, Dumba's shot block. Just people got sick and tired of hearing that, and they're about ready to trade him away as well. And, hey, if he can help you get a legitimate center, it is what it is. It's nothing against anybody, this and that. I don't like the direction sports are going, getting more and more political with every day, especially with what's been taking place in the NBA. Like you try to figure, okay, I don't want to watch the NBA right now. It's a little too much. You come over and they start going the same direction in the NHL. It is what it is. So it's nothing personal against Matt Dumba or anything. But, hey, if he's not going to perform at the level we're expecting, then I don't know. Trading him is not something I would just push away. I think that's something I would consider doing. He's been downright frustrating the last year and a half, and we'll see what happens. I know there's always that fear. We all know what happened with Brent Burns. You could say it 100 million times. I don't think he's Brent Burns. I don't. I'll be very surprised. He still might end up being that 50-point guy, though, who had that rifle shot. That day could still come, and he did score in the... he did still score in that exhibition game with Colorado. That was nice to see, but he didn't bring it into the Vancouver series at all. In fact, you never really heard his name. You never really heard about Matt Dumba. You never really heard about Zach Parise throughout this series. You sure as heck didn't hear about Zuccarello. You heard that Galchenyuk turned the puck over at crucial times. Terrible turnovers on the blue line that almost got us killed or did get us killed in multiple occasions. The guy just, I don't know. Some guys out there, they just don't know what they're... We don't know what they're doing. It's maybe not a matter that they don't know what they're doing. We don't know what they're doing. And it just kind of leaves you frustrated and kind of heartbroken, to be quite honest. 3-0 loss to Vancouver. Markstrom is the next Ken Dryden. And then the next night, 5-4 ended up being a loss in overtime that lasted 24 bleeping seconds. 11 seconds into overtime from Tenev. Okay, yeah, obviously spoiler alert, but who's listening right now that doesn't know the result of this series? Of course, a 3-1 series victory for the Vancouver Schmucks. But an entertaining first period, a good start. Luke Cunnin scoring on the power play, so that ended a 13 consecutive power play drought. Over 13 short circuit of the power play. Ended it nicely there. That made us feel better. Entertaining back and forth game. Got to see Joel Eriksson X score. You got to see guys like members of the Geek Squad. Obviously, Luke Cunnin and Joel Eriksson Ek continue to prove their worth, but another guy in Jordan Greenway continued to not prove his worth. And that's where I'm not sad if Jordan Greenway's not on the roster next year. And I'm not surprised at all if Zach Parise's not on the roster next year either. Kevin Fiala did not score in the game, but he did get an assist on Eric Stahl's goal fairly early in the game, which put the Wild up 2-1. It's funny, though, how we were basically the reciprocal of the Colorado Avalanche in game number 7 in 2014, where we would keep taking 1-goal leads, and then Vancouver would keep tying it up. where, of course, in Colorado, they would take the lead and we tied it up. And eventually, the final score was the only time the other team had the lead. In this case, that other team was the Vancouver Canucks and not the Minnesota Wild. Christopher Tanev would score 11 seconds into overtime. I mean, if you stood up for 1 second, maybe to just, who knows, maybe you had a beer in the freezer to like cool it off a little teeny bit to get that frosty feel, which is really nice. Just stood up for 1 second to get it, figuring maybe this overtime is going to last a little while. Who knows, maybe it'll even go into double overtime and we won't get to sleep till 2 or 3 in the morning. Who knows? But you just stand up and it's all you hear is he scores. And it's like, okay, well, and it wasn't Minnesota. Yeah, it just wasn't Minnesota. And Vancouver advances and the Wild are done. Woohoo. Isn't that great? It's pretty much what happened. But you can guarantee Vancouver is the number 7 seed because they were already number 7. And Chicago is definitely going to be number 8 because they were number 12. Chicago Blackhawks make the playoffs, folks. The Chicago Blackhawks make the playoffs, but the good news is the Blackhawks will not be getting the number 1 pick in the draft. That's right, the Chicago Blackhawks will not be getting the number 1 pick in the NHL draft, but the Pittsburgh Penguins might. Yeah, isn't that great? Edmonton Oilers might get it too. Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, and Lafreniere. Can you imagine? Wouldn't that be something? That'd be insane, huh? Well, I guess you never know, but maybe that day will come. Eric Stahl, solid. He actually led the Wild in overall scoring with 4 assists and 1 goal throughout this series. Kevin Fiala went up with 4 points, 3 goals, 1 assist, or was it? Yep, 3 goals and 1 assist for Kevin Fiala. Parisi had a couple assists. Foligno up and down here and there. Nice start to everything. Again, nice goal by Nico Sturm, which put the Wild up later on, which had us really feeling good. Put us up 3-1. But the really telltale sign that things were not going to go so well in this game, things were not going to go our way, is when, say, again, Joel Eriksson Ek put the Wild up 3-1 fairly early in the second period, and literally 3 minutes later the game was tied. 3 minutes later the game was tied. Unbelievable. Brandon Sutter, not Sutter, Sutter, and Quinn Hughes again. Paul Coffey Hughes would score on the power play because of another stupid idiot penalty. Like there were 19,000 of them throughout this entire series. Of course, again, that's a way to generate some more scoring, I suppose, and that's why the referees were blowing the whistles more often. Very entertaining second period though, as things go from 2-1 Minnesota to 4-3 Minnesota. Again, Joel Eriksson Ek putting the Wild ahead 3-1, which had us all, oh my God, we actually are going to go to Game 5. It's going to happen. I was very hopeful, and again, 3 minutes later, the game was already tied, and you just kind of slump over in your chair, or if you're standing, you slump into your chair. Nico Sturm scores from the left flank. Beautiful shot, well placed and all that. Some people might say it was just a lucky play. Bo Horvat then would score fairly late in that third period, and it's like, yeah, we're going to lose, aren't we? You could just feel it. And then Chris Tanev, 11 seconds in, and scores, and all she wrote. And that was the end of the series, basically, with that. But that was the frustration, generally speaking, throughout this series, where all you can do is, feel that it's the same old story. Can't seem to score when you need to, or maybe you magically do score, or you turn the puck over. And like when you are scoring, now your defense seems to disappear, or your discipline seems to disappear. It was just a generally undisciplined series at times. Guys like Kevin Fiala, Jordan Greenway, just undisciplined moments. It was just a strange overall series. Kind of left you scratching your head. I mean, I'm kind of sick of talking about it, actually, at this point. It left you just kind of scratching your head, feeling like, I don't know, we probably could have easily won this series, despite how talented the Vancouver Canucks are. It's just the fact we were not disciplined with the puck, not disciplined with our sticks, not disciplined with this, not disciplined with that. And then, magically, we couldn't score when we had opportunities. And then, when we did score, we'd find a way to blow it just a couple minutes later. It's like at every turn, Vancouver would match our move, even though, again, you'll continue to say they're not that great. They're not, but, well, I guess they're great now to the time being, and they're probably going to continue to get better going into the next season and beyond. So, with that, I guess we're going to try to jump into what you guys had to say. I believe I already said about Chicago beating Edmonton. Yep. Pittsburgh losing to Montreal. They're going to definitely be the 8th seed over there. Oh, because Pittsburgh was the best. Pittsburgh was the 5th seed. That's the best qualifying round team. Just like, Edmonton was the best qualifying round team in the Western Conference. Oh my! So both 12th seeds are now 8th seeds in the real playoffs. That's just crazy. Good news is Zach Parise and Ryan Suter still got 5 years remaining on their deal, and I'm going to tell you something. This is nothing personal, but I have to say it. When you look at Zach Parise's face and all that, does he not look about 5 years older than just a couple months ago back in March? He looks way older, doesn't he? And, well, the production level wasn't the same. Matt Zuccarello again, whatever. That's just all there is to say about all of that. Kevin Fiala, we're going to have to ink him pretty soon after 2021. He's a free agent after next year, but restricted free agent. Interesting. Restricted free agent. I'll continue to say that. After next season, not after this season. Pending free agents could become, Jordan Greenway and Luke Cunnin are restricted free agents, so that's going to be very interesting. Very interesting what happens there. So we'll see how they get capped. But I wouldn't be surprised if the Wild move on Jordan Greenway somehow, some way. They move him out of here somehow, some way. Some type of package deal, of course. He won't be the main part of any deal when you acquire like a big-name player. And any thought of buying out Matt Zuccarello, he'd be on the hook for 8 years, basically. You'd split it in half. Say he's at $6 million per the next 4 years. Thank God it's 4, not 5, because the 5-year contract had already started, of course. You split it in half, so it's $3 million for 8 more years. $3 million cap hit for 8 more years. That's insane. So I don't know if we're in any rush to do that. Victor Rask could be $2 million for the next few years. We'll see how things go there. He might be a buyout candidate. He's got 2 years remaining at $4 million per. So, yeah. Paul Fenton did some really good things, and he did some real crappy things. Kirill Kaprizov, he is, there it is there. $925,000, and then he becomes a free agent after that. So that's going to be extremely interesting as we move forward. We're going to have Nico Sturm's a restricted free agent. Can't wait to have him on the everyday NHL roster, as he most likely will be, at least the fourth line center moving into next season. Again, let's hear what you guys had to say at Brave the Wild, hashtag BTWMN. So now we can finally get to what you guys have to say. I tried to filter it to get the dates more organized, and it didn't work. So I'm not real happy about that. It's not your fault. It's Twitter's fault. It was actually up pretty good. So we'll have to move forward here. Derek Felska says, any questions about the hashtag MNWild? Just tearing at your mind after our series loss to the Canucks? Ask Brave the Wild. Just tag your questions and all that. Yep, thank you very much. Hashtag BGWMN. Okay, so where was it? Okay, Derek Felska. See, now we got July 16th again. I know. Okay, Jay Bushy. There he is. Do the Wild look to extend Fiala in this short off season? That wouldn't be a bad idea. I mean, as long as he's eligible to be able to do that. I mean, because it's coming up pretty soon, and it's $3 million, and then he becomes a restricted free agent. It wouldn't be the dumbest idea to get things going in the right direction. At least get the conversation going. And again, restricted free agent, arbitration eligible, moving forward into 21-22. So again, $3 million next year, and then restricted free agent arbitration. Now that I'm repeating myself, I apologize for that. Wouldn't be the worst idea. I think they got to get things going, and Fiala's definitely playing for his next contract, and you can totally see it. He's looking awesome out there, absolutely awesome. I think that would be very wise, though, Jay. I do. That would be super wise if they did that. So we can move forward. Derek Felska says, which NHL team that has advanced to the next round from play-in clubs do you think is the best chance of knocking out one of the top 4 seeds? 1 pick for Eastern Conference, 1 pick for Western Conference. Well. This is going to be an interesting one. Well, for one, I hope it's not going to be the Chicago Blackhawks over the Vegas Golden Knights. That would be terrible. New York Islanders, I think, are extremely dangerous. But, of course, the top teams in the Eastern Conference, when you're talking about like Tampa, Boston, teams like that, it's going to be super tough. Oh, boy. Most likely teams, though. Boy. I don't think Arizona's going to upset Colorado. when you look at that. Vancouver. I guess Arizona. My God. So the 11 and the 12 advanced. So that makes Vancouver 6th. Pardon me for that. Isn't that just nuts? Isn't that crazy? And the Flames advanced. They're number 8, so they'll be the number... Jeez, they'll be number 5. Yep, they advanced, and I'm glad about that. They really kicked some butt. Looks like Vegas is going to be number 1, most likely, in the West. In the East, it should be Boston. I believe they're still hanging pretty strong. Round Robin gets a little bit confusing at times, the situation there. But, yeah, Boston is like number 1, Tampa number 2, Washington 3, Philly 4. That's the current state of affairs there. Bruins, actually, no, they're not doing as well. So it's probably going to be... That's kind of crazy. Flyers and Lightning, possibly. Man, Lightning. You know, the Lightning could choke it away. I don't think they're going to lose to Montreal. That'd be absolutely insane. So I don't see that happening, but, I mean, I don't think anybody saw Columbus beating them out either. Toronto, Columbus, that's not going so well. Carolina advanced. Islanders, I think the Islanders are very dangerous. Let me tell you, the Islanders are dangerous. Columbus obviously is dangerous as well. We all know what they can do. That series is tied, and game number 5 is tomorrow, unfortunately, so that's not completed yet. Boy, it's kind of been back and forth. So if things go the way it's been going, Blue Jackets will probably win that one. Unfortunately, Vegas definitely though has got to be number 1. Yeah, Colorado's number 2. Blues and Stars. So we're looking at Chicago Golden Knights, Arizona Avalanche. After that, it gets a little bit interesting for that Western Conference. Man, I mean, where do you go with this one? I think the Islanders are the most dangerous. I got to think Islanders and the Carolina Hurricanes are both super dangerous in the East. In the West, I mean, Arizona, they're kind of dangerous, kind of not. Calgary, what would they be? The 5th seed? Yeah, they'd be the 5th seed. So you got Calgary 5th, Vancouver 6th, Arizona 7, and frickin' Vancouver 8. That's just crazy. Calgary's going to be a 5th seed because of the eliminations. Good for them. That's a lucky move. So Calgary will play the Stars, most likely. And that's just crazy when you think of Vancouver versus the Blues. Blues are going to beat Vancouver. Stars versus Flames. Oh my! The West they're going to have a hell of a time. I mean, I don't think the Blackhawks are going to beat the Golden Knights, but I guess you never know. Arizona versus the Avalanche. The West doesn't look. I don't think any of them are going to win, honestly. But if I have to pick one gun to the head, jeez, good Lord. I have no idea. Flames. I'm hoping the Flames over Dallas because they haven't looked really good so far. I'm hoping for the Flames because the Flames actually have been really damn good. Their only loss in this series was just 3-2. Otherwise, they won 4-1, 6-2, 4-0 against the Winnipeg Jets. Very impressive. So I'll say Calgary over Dallas, which again is a 4 versus a 5 anyway. But Calgary over Dallas is the most likely. Pardon me for the noise there. Not sure exactly what fell. Montreal Canadiens will be playing against Tampa, most likely. They're not going to beat Tampa. They're just not. Carolina and the New York Islanders, though, man, I hope one of them knocks off Washington. I'd love that. Boy. Yep, so Montreal's definitely number 8. You got 6 in the Islanders. And then, so that would make Carolina number 4 and New York number 5. No. Carolina number 5, New York number 6. And then the winner of Toronto versus Columbus, number 7. So I got a little better perspective there. Where it's probably going to be Montreal versus the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Philadelphia Flyers versus the Philadelphia Flyers versus the Carolina-Toronto deal, which is a lot better than Boston versus Toronto. Boy, Boston. So whoever has to play Boston in the first round, I feel sorry for you because they're probably going to be the 4th seed. Unless they're just like falling apart and they're going to blow this thing. Boston, man, they're going from 1 to 4. That's just a bummer. They're just kind of collapsing in on themselves. They'll be playing Carolina. That's going to be an awesome series, actually. Boston versus Carolina. There'll be a rematch of the East final, pardon me. Boston's going to win that, though, unfortunately. So I feel for Carolina. They kicked some butts. They swept the Rangers right out of there. Unless Boston's completely going in the tank, I got to think they're going to beat the Carolina Hurricanes. Tampa's got to beat the Canadians, right? Canadiens, right? But Canadiens beat Pittsburgh, too. New York Islanders would be facing off against the Flyers, I believe. Nope. They'd be facing off against the Capitals. Man. That's too bad. Because the New York Islanders are most likely to make some kind of a playoff run, I think. I'm surprised that they were number 7. I'm very surprised, but God knows they probably were going to catch up at some point. Columbus, Columbus, Toronto, I'm not that impressed. Not really. Boston's going to beat. Boston's going to beat those guys. Honestly, no. Philadelphia would probably beat those guys, even though Philly's been not that spectacular necessarily. Before this, they really weren't spectacular, but they're good now. Philly will beat them. I'm going to say the New York Islanders over the Washington Capitals only because they're the best out of that group. They are. Yeah, it's kind of tough, isn't it? It's kind of tough because of the upsets. Like, do you really see Montreal beating Tampa? Do you really see Chicago beating Vegas? If they do, boy, that would kind of suck, actually. Would you be happy to see Vegas out and Chicago in? No. No. But, I'm going to go with that. The Flames, most likely in the West. Sorry for elongating that for such a long period there, Derek. But Flames over the... you kind of get a better picture because it's not official yet. That's what's slowing me down here. Calgary over the Dallas Stars, which would be pretty impressive, actually. And that would be very impressive for Calgary. And the New York Islanders over the Washington Capitals is my guess. So great thoughts there, Derek. Thank you. Great question, pardon me. Kirill the Thrill. I like that. At Jody Helvey. Cool. Jody Helvey says, a couple questions. Do they buy out Dubnyk? And I think we learned Stalock is a better backup. Can anything be done with the contracts of Zuccarello and Stahl? Does Koivu retire? I think the Wild keep Stahl. I think Koivu retires. I do. Or, boy, he looked solid, didn't he? Well, it's down to either a 1-year contract for like $3 million or something, or $2 million, whatever, depending on what he's willing to do, or he does retire. I think he should. I wouldn't be surprised if his knee's killing him secretly, and he's kind of playing through it because he's obviously much slower than he used to be. Still can get the face-offs and all that. Maybe he doesn't want to be a specialist. But I don't think he's back with Minnesota next year, one way or another, Koivu. Stahl, I think we're going to keep him because we almost kind of have to. Zuccarello, we're stuck unless you want to get 8 years of cap, dead cap on your books, which would be really frustrating because he's going to be pretty much impossible to be traded unless you're going to get another dead cap contract in return, like the Andrew Ladd deal. Do they buy out Dubnyk? I think very possible. Or actually, you could trade Dubnyk because it's just 1 year. You could legitimately trade Dubnyk to be like a veteran backup somewhere for a team that's looking for, a solid veteran backup who might still have something in the tank for a year or two. That's what I see with Dubnyk. I don't think he's back either. And, you said about Stalock is a better backup. It's a better... or maybe you think... I think Stalock starts next year as the main goalie, but that Kaapo Kähkönen most likely will be the backup and will get a ton of opportunity to take over, or at least be like a platoon with Alex Stalock. That's kind of what I've been leaning towards forever. When I talk about the Minnesota Wild goalie situation with Kähkönen and Stalock, that's what I'm leaning towards. I don't think Dubnyk's back, though. The fact that he didn't even see a pinch of time in the postseason, I don't think he's really a goaltender this team wants to keep moving forward. That's just my guess. It's nothing personal, it's business, that kind of thing. So hope that answered your questions there. Thank you very much, Jody. Jay Bushy returns and says, was last night's game Mikko's last as a member of the Minnesota Wild? I think so, yes. I think so, depending on what else is out there. But I think it's time for Nico Sturm to at least get an opportunity to play center for Minnesota. He's not this perfect player, but we got to get younger, especially at the center position. I mean, you got Stahl and Koivu and then, whoever else, basically. Galchenyuk is like a desperation move at this point, as good as he could be. The skill level's there, but it just doesn't look good. Continuing, Derek Felsko says, after watching the NFL playoffs so far, are there any chances from what we had that you'd like to see them carry forward to the playoffs in the future? Was a rapid-fire best-of-5 opening round actually kind of a good thing, as an example? It was fun. Yeah, it was fun, and you certainly could get some upsets. It was fun. Yep, so they're saying Islanders will play the winners of Boston versus Washington. The Carolina Hurricanes will play the winner of Boston versus Washington. And Montreal will play Philly versus Tampa. Yeah, well, Montreal's not advancing. It's kind of fun. I mean, you get some crazy stuff to happen. It'd be kind of like baseball, wouldn't it? It'd be kind of like that divisional round, so to speak. But then again, hockey's already got a lot of playoffs. I'm guessing they're not going to do that unless they have to shorten the season again for whatever reason. Maybe to get things back to normal right away, that type of thing. Maybe they shorten the regular season and add another playoff bracket again. That's my guess. Montreal, I remember last year when I just called them Montreal, when Columbus knocked out Tampa. That was nuts. I'm guessing no, only because they've already had enough postseason, but it was fun. I did enjoy it. And if you have to have a shortened season situation, again, like a lockout, which thank God will not be happening, there will be no lockout. Well done, well done. That was awesome. That was absolutely awesome. So continuing with Derek Felske, he says, looks like there was a conversation back and forth. He said, Koivu? No, hard pass for me. I've never been a Koivu fan. The Wild overpaid him for almost his entire career. Let him say, let's play hockey and move on. That's funny. I don't blame you with that one. I don't. That's really funny. I like it. He has been a little bit on the overrated side, hasn't he? And he always seems to disappear in the playoffs. And that was back when Koivu was a number 1 or number 2 center, where now he's not anymore. I'm ready to move on also. And it's not personal, and I think he did a good job as a fourth-line center. Really good, but I think for his sake, he should step down, retire, whatever it is, or maybe join the Boston Bruins or something if he's willing to for a 1-year contract. Pittsburgh Penguins or whoever. Be like a Matt Cullen. That's pretty much what he is at this stage, is Matt Cullen. Or at least he hopes he can be that. Because Cullen was very solid as a fourth-line center the last couple of years of his career, except not here for some reason. But again, the players around him weren't as good as they were in Pittsburgh. Justin Becky of MNW Prospects, which I'm very proud to be a part of as well, says, would you like to see the Minnesota Wild take... who would you like to see the Minnesota Wild take at either spot 1 or 9? Also spot 15 if we wind up with a Pens pick this year. And yeah, we still might wind up with it if the Wild do get them. Boy, at this stage, it's kind of tough to pick as we look forward at an NHL mock draft. It's kind of tough to say. Other than, I mean, obviously, you want to take the best player available if you have the number 1 pick in the draft, and that's generally Lafreniere. But some people do believe that Byfield is. Byfield could actually even be better, and of course, he's your center, so to speak. Quinton Byfield. So right now they're guessing like Montreal. It's just kind of like tweeting around. Well, Montreal can't get it now, which is funny. This got to be the wrong year, right? Oh, nope. They have us taking Anton Lundell at the 11th pick, but it's going to be 9th possibly now. Maybe. We'll see what happens. Boy. That's a goalie going to Chicago at this stage. If Cole Perfetti winds up there, that'd be absolutely great. That's a name we've been hearing an awful lot of, and he's a center. He's a smaller guy, but certainly got some skills and all that, some hope there from Saginaw. Guys like that are the ones that are kind of hanging around in that area. But I suppose Perfetti, you got to hope for him to be there at 9, or if you have to trade up or something like that. Oh, boy. But I'll probably get deeper into the draft, Justin, in the next episode, State of the Wild, coming up. I'll talk more about the draft there at that stage. But plus we don't know if Pittsburgh's going to keep the pick or not. Odds are they will, because they'll probably pick lower next year. That's my guess. But obviously take the best player available, and that's probably Lafreniere, even though people are going to say, we don't need a wing. We need this. And, well, we'll see. Thank you, Justin, though. Awesome. Kirill the Thrill says, this pandemic actually gave me some much-needed perspective. If they win, great. If they lose, fine. For all teams except my Golden Gophers, win, baby. Gopher sports, win, baby. So go for hockey, too, hopefully. You're thinking there, not just football. Gotta love Gopher hockey. Sage, what's going on here? Conversation. Okay. So, Sage, where's Jody Halvey, by the way? If you have any questions for Brave the Wild, just tag it. Okay, thanks, Derek, for bringing Jody on board. See. Well, now it's been back to the older days here again. Okay, Derek returns. He's asking if you have any questions. Here we go. Derek says, if you had to describe how Wild general manager Bill Guerin must have been feeling after this playoff series against Vancouver. What adjective do you think best fits his feelings about the Wild club right now? Underwhelming. Underwhelming. Especially people like Jordan Greenway, who, play. He's got a big size. He has skill, and he doesn't use either one. It's like you just don't see the energy. You just see kind of like he's just kind of happy to be there, and it's not like he's this bad person. It's not like he's lazy, but you just don't see the competitiveness you want to see. You don't see him using his body at all, and it's extremely frustrating. It just feels like it's never going to change. But generally underwhelming, I would say. Absolutely underwhelming. I mean, Parise wasn't really Parise in this series, was he? He looked old. He looked like Brett Favre, when Brett Favre, and I don't mean literally like that old, like a 41-year-old. But remember how Brett Favre aged from 09 to 10? Parise from March to today looks way older, and it's weird. And I hope part of me hopes I'm the only one that noticed that, but I'm guessing other people might have saw the same thing. He looks like an old guy, and it makes me feel much older still, because I'm a lot older than Parise. Big bummer there, huge bummer. Let's see if there's any more new ones. Because again, this whole thing got scrambled, which is annoying. Looks like that's it for the questions, I believe. But there might have been a little back and forth going on with Derek and some other people. I might dig into that here in a second if I can find it very briefly. I miss hearing from Rich Blummer and others out there. Didn't hear from Tom Hayen yet, but that can go to the next show. So don't be thinking, oh no, yeah, because it's going to come up again, and I'll definitely find it, because I'm not going to filter anything out necessarily. See if anything popped up here with Derek and others. There was a conversation going on, and I can't find it now for some reason. Go to the mentions if I can. Some new notifications that pop up. Justin Backey says, looking forward to reading this after work. Yep, Crease and Assist, of course. He put up his new article, Crease and Assist, Derek Falska there. His new article, Perspective on the Minnesota Wild and all that. Very cool. And he tagged me here. He said, here are 5 takeaways from the Wild 2019-20 season experience and things I feel need to be changed moving forward. Check it out and definitely do that. Actually, let's just retweet that right now. Yep, definitely looking forward to that. That'll be retweeted for those of you out there. Do check that out, of course. There was a bit of a conversation, but it kind of went away. I don't know what happened. Here we go. This one. See, there was a little bit of, Anthony Crane said, personally, I'd like to see him get one more year, that being yep, this is what got things going. COVID threw a wrench in everything. Maybe he takes a cap-friendly deal, LOL. Plays less minutes, give him a proper send-off at his last home game. Longest tenured captain in NHL right now. Needs recognition. I don't disagree with what you're saying there. I don't. But, I mean, if Koivu moves on now, I think it's okay. I don't think it's the end of the world, but I don't really disagree either. That would be cool if things wound up that way. It's a crying shame that things kind of fell apart there so quickly, and all that. It's just a damn shame. Anthony Cranes again says, yeah, show him the money about him. Evan O'Brien says, I gosh darn hope so. Of course, he said a much more intense word there. See what conversation is going on here. I have no idea. Looks like it got kind of all split up. So I think that's it for now. God bless. But I think we're already nearing an hour of show play here. In fact, we're just about there. So I should probably wrap it up. I want to thank all of you definitely for your interaction. I apologize if I got a little long-winded, this and that, but it is what it is. It is what it is. I mean, we're talking about the game we love. We're talking about a situation here that obviously needs some correcting and such. Culch and Yak, this and that. We'll talk about it much more in State of the Wild as well coming up. We'll do our season wrap-up on that show. We will do our conversation moving forward, the draft, the free agency, and of course recap a bit of the postseason as well on that episode. Please let me know your most valuable player, biggest disappointment, or biggest surprise if you could on hashtag BTWMN, and I'll get Derek Velska to kind of post that out there as well, because I know he's so good about that. Always appreciate that in a big way. If you like the show, please rate it positively on iTunes if you could. It would be greatly appreciated. 5-star rating, and tell us what you like and maybe what you'd like to see improved. Join the Facebook page, facebook.com/bravethewild.minnesota. @bravethewild is the Twitter account. MNW Prospects, massive shout out to them always. And Coppers Off Countdown and all that. Obviously love that on Twitter as well. MNW Prospects, Pavel Bennett, Justin Backey, Brandon Quast, Chad Walski, who's also a major part of Minnesota Wild Global on Facebook. Awesome Minnesota Wild page from Scott Cavendish, Chance Kostick, David Kostick, Kathy Main, many others out there. Thank you guys and gals so much for being a part of this show and great interaction and our love for the game of hockey. With all that said, I want to wish all of you a very a very good next couple weeks, and hopefully we can enjoy some playoff hockey anyway. I guess jump on board someone else's bandwagon temporarily if you want to, because it's at least gives you something to watch, something to enjoy, like Vegas, Calgary, Tampa Bay, whoever it is. Just enjoy it, have some fun with it. Don't be too depressed, because I think better days are coming. I do. I think Bill Guerin's going to help fix things up a bit. We'll talk about that more in the next couple of weeks. Take care, everyone.